Welcome to Mariposa Woolen Mill's Needle Felting Basics and Kit Instruction. For those of you new to felting and deciding to try a new craft, let me give you a small intro. Basically, felting is causing wool fibers to intermingle and mat together. This can be accomplished in a couple ways. Wet felting is one way, with hot water, little soap, and a lot of friction. The other way is needle felting, with which I will demonstrate later on in the video. Felting needles have barbs and they grab onto other fibers, to the wool fibers, as it's poked into the wool, causing this intermingling or felting. It always is best to use a surface such as a foam or a rice pad because the needles are very sharp. This kit provides all needed supplies to start this new fun, easy hobby. Let's get started. Welcome to our winter blue jay felting kit. We have a nice light blue mat to start with. So we'll just start building our background, starting with the gray and the rovings that are provided. I'm just going to divide it into smaller manageable pieces, even again. So we're just going to be working on those branches in the distance. So what we'll do is pinch it in our fingers, make it more manageable, more slender. So these are the little thinner branches in the back, anchoring it down and just giving a little tug and poking as we go and pulling away what we don't need. So it's very thin, less is more, and as we're poking, we're pulling, so it pulls fibers away. So we're going to build our other branches on top of this, and our blue jay. So this is very kind of in the shadows, and you'll see that once we put the other colors on top. So if you reference the photo, it's the gray, slender branches in the back that we're working on now. It's not the brown branches in the foreground. Don't want too many of these branches because they will become a little bit of a distraction. So let's keep it minimal. So next we'll move on to using the black that we have. And that's going to be the base for our branches, the larger branches in our composition. Place them where you would like them to be, and then we'll later felt them down. So you can refine the edges of your elements, your objects, by poking from the side, just to kind of tuck those little wayward fibers. Use the needle from the side just to sharpen up the edge, sharpen up the line. Just going to block in the larger branch at the bottom. Make sure you're always working on your foam because the needles are very fragile and easily break. So we've placed our black down, we're going to anchor it and refine the shape as we go. So the project is in a very soft state at this point still. It would take a lot more felting for it to be beyond moving of the fibers. So you can still tuck and move them around using your needle. It's a good idea just to give the rovings that you've applied in a very thick manner, to give it a once over, just to get them anchored down really well and as flat as possible at this state. So just keep in mind though that you're still going to be adding more color. You're just putting a base color at this point. So you can still tuck and tuck from the sides to just refine the edges. And any excess fibers you can just pull off. Make sure that you hold on to your felted project so you don't pull up what you've just worked on, because it is in a still a very soft state. So using the dark brown, just kind of indicate some bark, variation of color on the tree branch. We're not going to cover it totally. We're going to be adding multiple colors. So little bits of color here and there blocking in where the light may have hit the bark, just showing texture. So as you can see, I didn't cover it totally, just small areas. So just work those in. Don't worry about really if it's creating a shape, because that's okay. The bark has a variety of shapes and shadows, and it just will look more natural that way. If you want the fibers to separate and spread out, rotate your needle. Be careful that you don't bend your needle, because it will break. You don't need to go very deep because you're adding such little fiber. If you go too deep, then your fibers will disappear. So gently poke these elements in. Now using the olive green, I'm just going to add a bit of moss to the bark on that top branch. So very small, and applying it the same way as you did the light brown, just in small little bits. And a small bit down on the lower other branch that we're going to indicate some moss. When poking these in, because it's okay, I think if there's a bit of a shape, Just poke in a circular motion. The branches in the foreground, we'll use the brown, again, dividing it. And roll it in my fingers just a bit. So to create a straight line, like we did with the gray in the background, going to anchor it down and give a tug and poke as we tug to the direction that we want the little branch to go. And put this branch behind the larger one. And the good thing about felting to this state is that if you don't like what you've done, you can just pull it up and start over. It would take a great deal more of felting or poking for it to be beyond movement. So you can always pull it up before it gets to that state. Just anchoring it down and giving a bit of a tug as I poke. This branch will go in front, the larger one. As I'm poking and pulling and changing the direction of the fibers as well, because I want it to turn. So now that you have your branches established, let's add a few berries. So the darkest blue we'll use for that, taking small bits and anchoring it down, and then we'll wrap it in our needle, just kind of twist it up, and then continue to poke. And this will create a little circle, a little ball. And just repeat that, as many little balls as you'd like. I'm going to vary in size so that this little piece is even smaller than the one before. Still poking it in the middle and then creating that circle. So keep in mind where your blue jay is going to be. Add the berries where your plan is for him not to be.
So once we're done with our berries, our background, we're just going to block out our blue jay shape. Taking a bit of white, just going to create the shape that we want our blue jay to be. Just kind of mapping it out. Indicating his chest, his tail, his back, where his under the beak will be. All of those areas just kind of help us as we're creating him. I find laying out the fibers in the shape that I need them to be helpful, so then I can start to poke them down into that shape. All the while I'm trying to refine the shape as I go. So tucking it from the sides, changing the angle of the needle, will help you to refine the edges and change the shape, because you may not have it right the very first time. So work on the shape until you get it as closely to what you think it should be as possible. By adding more fibers, taking things away. But if you're not happy with the shape of your bird before you put the detail on, then you have some undoing to do. And so I think you should be happy with the shape of the bird, and then you can move on to detail. So, committed to the shape of the bird, we'll start to add some of the colors. As we're going, we're going to be layering the bird's colors because it is complicated. So, light blue, and then we'll add the brighter blue on top. So let's give ourselves a light blue base where the color appears on the bird. So its neck and those top feathers have a bit of light blue in there. So let's just give some placement for those colors. And there is a tad bit of light blue at the bottom of the belly. And on the crest of its head, there's also some light blue. So as you can see, I have a bit of refinement of the shape of the bird as I'm going along too. So don't be afraid to change what you thought you were committed to. So adding the black, kind of giving myself a characteristic anchor So starting with the darkest part, bird. So just putting that in, see if we've got the right shape. So you will need to reference maybe a photo that you have of your own, or you can use the photo that's provided as you work on the detail. So just refining the edges, refining the shape of the bird, just getting really happy with what it looks like before you start adding detail. Just adding the next color now, the brighter blue. So we'll just start with working on the neck, just get that variation of colors there. And adding it very thin, pulling off excess, just really small areas and very thin. So I'm spreading out my fibers and then just working it in. So just indicating where the wings, the color that's on the wings as the base underneath, because the detail will go on top. We're also going to add that brighter blue to the top of the head. And when I'm anchoring down one side, I'm giving a little tug so that it has a feathered effect. Anchoring it and I'm pulling. So the fibers kind of disappear. They disappear into the bird, but in a feathered kind of way. Soft edge. So continue to layer that, the bright blue on top of the white. Always referencing a photo or the image that's provided. So there's a bit of black around the eye, and then along the neck. So block in those colors, and then you'll be layering. Come back with white or more blue just to cover up a sharp line to soften some edges. Right now we're just indicating where it is, getting the depth of color, and then we'll soften the edges. So now we'll just start indicating more detail on the wings using the navy blue, just creating those little stripes, those little individual sections. So we're going to indicate those on the top portion of the wing and the bottom portion. So we've indicated the dark blue, the divisions between those feathers, and we'll tip those feathers with the white. And it's okay if it's a little bit thick, but what we're going to do is just take a manageable piece and slowly anchoring it down, twisting and turning in the direction that we want those fibers to go. And any excess that we have, just hold it down and pinch it off. And we'll do the same for the bottom portion, the bottom feather part. So we've added that white. Now we'll just add light blue to define those individual feathers before we put the stripes on. Actually, sorry, it's the brighter blue first, and then we'll add the light blue. Just try and stay in between where you've marked it. So you're basically doing a dark, a medium color, and a light color, so it shows a variation aroundness of that feather. I'm having to go back and refine that dark area that I felted over. Still just using that bright blue just to add that medium tone to the feather before we add the highlight area, which is the light blue. And we'll put that on the opposite edge of the dark. We'll use it more on top of that medium tone blue. It may be hard to see, but that's the method of my madness here. We have the dark tone, the medium, and then the light. So now we'll add in the striping. So very minuscule, tiny pieces of fiber will need to be used to create those stripes. And you may have to, once you've applied one stripe, pull the fibers away, hold down what you've worked on, and then pull it away. So let's add just a bit of dark under the wings and part of the tail feather as it's connected to the body under there. So we'll use the navy blue, starting up under the wing, using small bits, just poking it down, giving a tug, pulling away. So we don't really want to create too many lines. So we want a softness. So we're just creating that darker area under the tail feathers. Did forget to put the white at the tip of that the wing feather there. So the base for the tail feathers is that bright blue, and then we'll add the navy on top. So we'll just go the length of the tail with the bright blue. This shows some indication for the individual tail feathers using the navy blue. And we use the navy for the striping as well. So the bluebird also has the white on the tip of the tail feather, so we'll just add that little shape there. There is a little bit of white around the eye, using very small bits of fiber, anchoring it down, pulling it away, and then gently poke those into the blue that's underneath it. And there is a white shape on its beak that will create, it's kind of like a semicircle. Again, reference the photo. That should help. To create the highlight in the eye, just as before when we did the berries, using very small, tiny minuscule piece of fiber, poke it in, wrap it around your needle to create a ball. Sometimes if it's so little fiber that it'll disappear, and you just may have to do it again in that same area. So just adding a bit of white to the crest. Having to adjust the chest just a tad. That's what's good about felting in this manner, that you can layer and or pull up. It's great medium. Using the black or the navy, whichever you choose. They're both dark enough. I create the feet and the leg that's angled. This completes our blue jay and demonstration. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks for watching Mariposa Woolen Mill Felting Basics and Kit Instruction video. So continue felting, and to replenish your felting needs, come visit us at the farm market or online at the link on your screen. Stay tuned for more felting fun.